Hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm called the Big Game Hunter because I coach people and organizations to play their professional and personal games big. And I was listening to an HBR Ideacast this morning, an interview with Cal Fussman, who's someone who's interviewed, Mikhail Gorbachev and Jeff Bezos and Dr. Dre, among others. And there's a great story that he tells about his interview with Bill Buckley, the conservative theorist and talk show host himself. And Fussman offers some advice for effective interviewing. And the show is about job hunting and more importantly about hiring. And I think his advice in particular is great if you're the final interview. The person who ultimately this is coming out of your budget. So here's a couple of his points. There are many more interspersed, but I thought these were highlights. Number one is make the person feel comfortable and don't just go in for the kill right away. That's not the language he uses. I'm taking it into our own culture as someone who's involved with hiring and making the final decision. He says, get the interview out of the place where there's the obvious power differential, where you're sitting behind the desk in the position of authority, the chair is at a lower height than yours. Get out of that environment. Put them in a more comfortable setting. And, even in the environment where there's the office that has the couch and the chairs and the coffee table, I could see where that has the same kind of a problem, because even if you're try to make them comfortable, your chair is higher than theirs is. So try and find a location where you can have some comfort and where you can encourage comfort, because you don't want to be getting the same canned answers to the same questions over and over again. So he says, start off looser. Be casual in your initial conversation. Don't go in hard right away. Loosen them up a little bit. Talk about social stuff at the beginning. And he tells a great story about an interview that I always mispronounce his name. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I'll call it Jeff Bezos from Amazon. And at that time, everyone was asking him, when is Amazon going to be profitable? And he said, I resolved not to ask that question because everyone else had done it. So he's sitting there with his publicist in the room, and they're about 20 minutes in, and Cal can see the publicist getting nervous and uncomfortable and squirming in his seat. And eventually he blurts out, "What are you going to ask him already?" And, the two of them laughed because he wasn't going to ask him. He was going in for the soft approach where he was learning more about the man than he was about this hard fact that he'd already answered a million times. So you want to get people off the script. He talks about preparing lots of questions in advance that you may not have time to do per person, but you can have a standard type of question that you ask of everyone. And based upon the feedback that you hear or the answer that you hear, I want you to go in deeper. So for example, job applicants at this point are coached to talk about the problem that they faced, the action that they took, the result that occurred, and some version of metrics for defining the impact of what they did. So given that, you want to go in a little bit deeper about the choices that they made and why they made choices to do it in a particular way. You want to see if there was some thought that went into it or whether they were instructed, right? You want to be in the position where they're talking more about themselves and what they did in their thought process than the mechanistic approach of what I nicknamed the Italian recipe PARM, problem, action, result, metric. You get it. So going a little bit deeper, and he also relays a story he says the first answer to a question, it's not that it's canned, but it's an easy answer, and that the follow-ups are where you learn the most. After all, as a journalist, it's rare that he says, I use the first answer. It's the follow-up questions where I really get the stuff that goes into the articles. Isn't that true for you too? So make sure you have good follow-up questions. He says he does prepare a list of questions in advance and throws them out so he can be in conversation mode with people. But it does give him a framework for the conversation. Same can apply to you too. Now he's recording things in wherever it is. He says, I put 2 recorders out in the room, and digital recorders work very well, to capture information, as opposed to in the old days we had microcassettes. Remember those days? So he talks about recording things, and that might be useful for your development to see, as you listen to things later on, whether there's something that you missed that could have been an opportunity for further exploration. He says, don't go in hard at the beginning, warm them up a little bit, and then go in for the harder questions later on. He tells this great story about interviewing George Steinbrenner, the former Yankee owner. And as they're leaving the interview, Steinbrenner's riding down with him in the elevator and says, you ask the toughest questions in the nicest ways. And you want to be doing the same thing. You don't want to make it seem like you're in aggressor mode, because instantly what happens is they put up their defenses, right? And you're not getting the truth of what's going on. So if you don't want to be adversarial, if you want to get great answers, what you want to be doing is asking tough questions in a very nice way. So put a smile on your face and go into your, if you've never seen this TV show from olden times called Columbo, you want to be a little self-effacing. So I want to talk with you a little bit. I'm a little confused here. Could you explain to me why you made that decision the way you did? Like, what was it that prompted you to that choice? What other choices did you consider as part of your decision to go down the, you see what I mean? I was trying to do my Peter Falk voice from Columbo. So again, I'm sure there are episodes on YouTube that give you an idea of what Columbo used to be like. So be kind of self-effacing and just try to get them to open up more. And at the end of the day, the game plan for you as the ultimate decision maker is to make sure that your group hires the best people. As is pointed out, Tony Hsieh from Zappos points out that his business itself has lost $100 million in sales with bad hiring, or $100 million in costs as a result of bad hiring. I'm sure your firm, in retrospect, can look at things and say, we didn't hire the best person either. What are you missing out on? How can you improve things? And part of that is drawing better things out of people at the final interview. And for you, whose budget this is coming out of, this is going to be the way that you're ultimately measured. How good a team that you have around you to make you look good, so that your successor's in place and people are shining and work well with one another. I'm Jeff Altman. I hope you find this helpful. My website is thebiggamehunter.us. Visit the site and go exploring. There's a lot there that you can watch, listen to, or read to help you with hiring and to help you be more effective if you happen to be in job search mode. I also want to say, if you are trying to hire, give me a call. My number is 646-374-8656, or email me at Jeff Altman, that's JEFFALTMAN, at thebiggamehunter.us. I also want to mention that I coach people, and I coach people to be more effective and play big. If you have people on your leadership team that would benefit from coaching, give me a call. I would love to talk with them. I'd love to set up a program where I'm working with people in your organization to help them be more successful. I'm Jeff Altman. Hope you have a great day. Take care.